Hello, everybody. Welcome to my kitchen. I am Jennifer, and my blog and my YouTube are Jenna Feast. That's JENNIFEASTS. Today we're gonna make homemade fettuccine with a vodka spicy sauce. I'm also gonna roast some garlic to make some homemade garlic bread, and then a quick salad. So I'm gonna start with the garlic that we are going to roast. So you just take a whole head of garlic, cut it on your cutting board in half, so directly in half. I'm just going to leave the skin on and everything. So we're going to put that into each and every piece of aluminum foil. You're going to sprinkle it with salt, a little bit of salt. Crushed or grated black pepper, and then some olive oil. So just a drizzle. And roasting this garlic, actually, it's gonna like caramelize it in the oven. So you're gonna have a nice golden brown garlic. We're going to add that to our butter. We're gonna spread that on our garlic bread, and we're gonna have a nice garlicky bread. So just make a little pouch. We're going to set them on a baking sheet. I just have a small round. Okay. So we got our two little packets here. We're going to put it in a 400-degree oven, probably 30 to 40 minutes. If you like it really golden brown and really caramelized, after the 30 to 40 minutes, you're going to open the foil and cook it another 10 minutes, but you really want to watch it really closely at that time, because if not, it can go really quickly. It goes from like 0 to 100 really quickly. So we are at 400. I'm going to put that in the oven. Set my timer because I tend to lose track of time. We're going to start at 30 and then check it then. You're going to hear my dog. He loves the bark. His name's Bentley. Gonna get that started. All right, next we're gonna do our pasta. So let's gonna make our dough. I have everything already measured out, and I will put these recipes in the comments so you'll be able to see them. My mixer is behind me in this handy dandy little stand, so I'm gonna bend down and pull it up. And I just got a new one for Christmas, and I haven't used it yet, so you guys are seeing it for the first time. Still has the zip tie actually in the plug, so let's plug that in. All right. So in our mixing bowl, we're going to add 2.5 cups of flour. You're going to use Italian style flour, 00 flour. If you don't have that, that's okay. You can usually get that at an Italian market and some specialty grocery stores. You can also use unbleached all-purpose flour, which is what I used the first time I made it, but 00 flour or 00 flour is the best for that. So you're going to put 2.5 cups in your measuring, or in your bowl. So you want to put those actually in a bowl, so if we get any shells, we can catch them. So far, so good. And you can double this recipe, you can triple this recipe. You can keep the dough in the refrigerator for a couple days if you're going to make it ahead of time. You can make different kinds of pasta, so if you want to double up and make one type of pasta one day and then another the other day. Alright, so now that that's in our well, we are going to move that over to our mixer. We're going to use the dough hook, so that is this, if you don't know what that is. If you had this and you've never used it in your mixer, that's what it is. It's a dough hook. So I'm going to come over here. definitely make sure it's locked. And put your hook on. And we're going to just lock it so it doesn't go everywhere. And we're going to go on just one. So one stir. I'm going to let that go. It's going to take probably, I would say, 6 to 8 minutes to come together. So we're going to give that a minute to go. Like I said, all these recipes are going to be in the comments, so you can do that. So while that's going, I'm going to get a bowl out so it can rest in. Because after you mix it, you're going to have it rest for a little bit. So on the bottom of that bowl, you do want to put a little olive oil so your dough does not stick once we get it in there. You're also going to get a clean kitchen towel. You can do a saran wrap if you'd like. I just have a huge roll of saran wrap and it's really a pain to get out, so we're just going to use a kitchen towel. So I got that out for that. Starting to come together just a little bit. Definitely going to take a little bit more time on that. So while that is happening, we'll go ahead and chop our salad because that's going to take a minute. So my other oven is heated for my bread, so we can do that next. A lot of these ingredients you can get in any grocery store, and I'm going to be honest, I buy a lot of stuff at Aldi, so you'll see a lot of Aldi products. There are some things that you can't get there, but for the most part, most of my things come from Aldi. I'm going to actually scoop this back just a little bit. It's starting to come together a little bit. I'm also going to get a little bit of water, just in case it is a little dry. You can add. I would just do a tablespoon at a time to make sure you're not getting it over wet, okay? And then while that's going, I'm going to chop up my salad. So I just like a rough chop. I use romaine a lot. I do have a little bit of rainbow spinach and some microgreens that I had left from something else, so I'm going to use those as well. I'm just going to just nicely display this here on the plate. Right on top, so that rainbow spinach, and a little bit of microgreens. I'm picky about my lettuce, so you'll see me picking out pieces that I don't like. There's nothing wrong with them, I don't personally like them. Alright, and then we are going to a little bit of red or orange pepper that I've already chopped, just a small dice. And then I had some roasted red tomatoes left from a dish I made last week. So I'm just going to throw those right on top. A good way to use all those ingredients. I tend to find that if I don't make a plan for them pretty quickly, then they just sit there. So I'll do a little quick wash up. The roasted tomatoes are oily. They come in oil, so you definitely want to drain those. You'll drain those before you put them on your salad. Alright. Still got a little ways to go on the dough. It is starting to ball up, so you'll see it's starting to form a ball, and it's starting to collect out from around the outside and coming together really nicely. You can hear my mixer's kind of struggling a little bit, so I'm going to bring it up to 2 just to take a little bit of strain off. Okay, it is just a little dry, so I'm going to throw in just about a tablespoon of water. You don't want to put much more than that. So let's turn it back on and Get that going some more. I also did slice some red onions earlier, so I'm going to throw those on top of the salad just for some color. I love to use all sorts of vegetables, different colors, different textures. So if you don't like onion, leave out the onion. If you don't like tomatoes, leave those out. Salad is just what you want to make it. It's your favorite ingredients. It's just sometimes I just take what's in my fridge and I throw it in a salad. So, all right. Also, I don't like croutons in my salad. Like they're hard for me to chew. So I do still like that little bit of crunch. So what I do is I take panko breadcrumbs. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in my pan behind me. I'm using especially olive oil with Parmesan garlic, extra virgin olive oil. I'll put the link in the comments if you want to purchase that. So I'm just going to put about maybe just a tablespoon in the bottom of my pan. I don't want to put too much. I don't want them to get too oily. So it's going to help those breadcrumbs just crisp up and have a little bit of seasoning. So I'm going to turn my stove on. And we're just going to put that on a medium heat because you don't want it too high to burn them, but you also want them to get toasted up. So while that's heating up, let's look at our dough. Still going to need a little more water. Throw that in there. We'll throw a little bit of oil in there too to help with that. It's really starting to come together, so shouldn't be much longer. And you want to put a teaspoon of salt, maybe just a little less, but we'll do that right at the end before it rests. So we don't want to overwork that salt in there. We're going to stop it for a second and try to see where we're at here. So we're just going to try to put that together with our hands, kind of get the rest of that loose together. It's going to be in a bowl. I'm going to turn that on for just a minute or two more. I'm going to give that salad a little bit of fresh lemon. And I'm going to do vinegar and oil as a dressing. So just a little bit of vinegar. And then another flavored oil that I have is zesty onion. So I'm going to use that as well. And it's got a nice like red color, almost like looks like it might have roasted red peppers in it, but it's not. It's just onion and olive oil. And a lot of crushed black pepper. Our olive oil on the stove is heated up for those breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to set this to the side. And I'm going to dump some of those in there. Probably about a half a cup is going to be a good amount for that salad. And also I'm going to throw some Italian seasonings in there. way underestimated on the dough. It's going to take longer than I thought. So I said 5 to 7 minutes. We're probably running about 10 minutes now. So it is almost there. Pull that up. Let me stir these breadcrumbs so they're not burning. And you have to watch those really closely. With them being so small and that olive oil, it's really going to heat up really quickly. So they're going to toast, and you want to stir them fairly often so they do not burn. Let's pull out the stove. And as you can see, it's going to go nicely into a ball. So we just want to make sure that that's all together. And you're going to have little pieces fall off, so don't worry about that. We're going to set it here in the olive oil bowl, and we're going to cover that. So we're going to let that sit for at least 20 minutes, and it can go up to an hour at room temperature. All right, so done with this. Just gonna this clean up. While that's sitting, I am going to slice my bread. Let me get that going. So once again, bread from Aldi. I can't tell you too many good things about Aldi. So if you've never been and you have one in your area, definitely check it out. A lot of things that they do sell are name brand, just packaged in their packaging. So they're made at the same facility as those name brand things, but they are Aldi brand. So we're just going to slice the bread. I like the slices to be about 1.5 inches thick, maybe a little thinner. Slice off that little end piece so it does lay flat. I'm going to use one of my big cookie sheets for that. So and we're just going to lay those out. And the instructions on the bread say bake at 375. And we're going to bake that for about 10 to 12 minutes. I already have my oven heated, so I'm going to put that in. I'll set another timer. And get that one going. Oh, see, I told you not to forget about those breadcrumbs. And I just did it. They are not too brown, but we want to definitely make sure we're watching those. So. Alright. I'm going to get a bowl out so I can mix up my butter. We can mix up what we can now. So I'm going to do 1 stick of butter for that bread. I do use Kerrygold butter a lot. That is my favorite. You cannot get that at Aldi. Sometimes at Christmas you can. I like to buy it at Costco or Sam's and buy it in bulk. Makes it cheaper. Also, I'm going to use about 1 teaspoon of black garlic powder. You can find that at specialty retailers as well. I get it from a spice shop. So we're going to throw that in. That's going to give it that extra garlic punch. And then I do have gloves because I don't like my hands to smell like garlic, especially when you get that roasted garlic in there. So I have a pair of gloves out for that. So I'm going to set this to the side. When that's ready, we will mix it up. Also, Parmesan cheese, or I'm sorry, mozzarella cheese for the bread. So let's get that out of the way. Guys, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to salt my pasta. So, a little bit of salt in there, and we're just going to knead it by hand. Just going to knead that up by hand. A little bit more salt. That in for a second. And we're going to definitely salt our water and salt it heavily, so no worries about that, but definitely want to get that in there. What I'm going to leave here is the semolina flour, so that's for the dusting, and then just a little bit more of my 000 flour, so when we stretch out the dough, it's going to not stick. Smelling those breadcrumbs just about done. As you can see, kind of a nice mix. Some of them are a little bit darker, some of them are not as dark, but we're just going to sprinkle those right over the salad. I like that sizzle. We're going to take the hook off and take the bowl off. We're done with all those. Oh, my hands are greasy from the breadcrumbs. And you can roll out the dough by hand if you don't have a mixer. You can knead the dough by hand if you don't have a mixer. I am going to take the attachment shield off, unscrew the screw, and then we're going to use and this is just the one that just rolls the dough. It's not anything cutting yet, so it's just a roller. It's going to go in here. Make sure you line up the square and get it all the way in, and then you're going to tighten it with the screw. You definitely want to make sure that's attached. You're going to lock your mixer. Let's give it up a little bit more. Stuffs off my flour and my water I got there. We're going to start on 1. So you always want to set your setting to 1, and that's where we're going to start. While we're waiting for our garlic to cook, it's got about 7 minutes. You can start really smelling it. It's smelling really nice. I'm going to go ahead and fill my water pot. You want about 3 quarts of water. And that's just a guess. You don't have to measure it out. Good. And then, like I said, we're going to heavily salt that. So grab your salt well, or your salt shaker. Tuck this in so it stays. Alright, I pulled the roasted garlic out of the oven. I'm going to, like I said, use gloves because I don't want my hands smelling like garlic. So what you're going to do is you're just going to open up the foil. As you can see, it's brown. I'll take a picture. What you're going to do is just going to kind of peel it out of there. So, and it's really hot, so you want to be careful. And I'm just going to use about 1/2 of this because any more is going to make it too much, especially with my black garlic in there. And then I'll just save the other. You can freeze it. You can refrigerate it up to about a week. I like to freeze it, and then when I don't have any, or I don't want to spend the time to make it, I already have it. I can just set it out the night before. So I'm just going through and crushing this up with my hands, a little piece of. If you don't pay attention, sometimes the outside gets a little more done, and then you don't want that mixed up in your butter because it gets a little hard. So we're just mixing that butter up with that garlic. And then I had already pulled my bread out of the oven, so I'm going to spread this on it. And like I said, you can use any bread. You can use a crusty French bread. You can use, this one was an Italian loaf. Something I also like from Aldi, I use a lot too to make garlic bread, is they have naan. They have big pieces and they have mini pieces. And I love to use those mini pieces. That's probably my favorite garlic bread, honestly. And I just do the same thing. I bake it for a little bit and then I bring it out, spread it with some butter, and then put it back in till the butter is melted and the bread is toasted, and then I bring it out and put some mozzarella cheese on. Sometimes I put Parmesan as well. It just depends on what I have. I've even used Colby Jack. There's no right answer or wrong answer. It's just what you have or what you like. And then I'll put it back in for a couple minutes to melt that cheese. What's really nice sometimes is to use the broil function, but you have to watch it really closely. So no multitasking when you're doing that. I'm just gonna Finish buttering these up. And then I'm going to put those in last while I'm making my sauce. So I want the bread nice and hot and cheesy. So when we're ready to eat, it's done. I don't want it sitting out and getting cold. But I am going to go ahead and prep them. And there's a little hard piece, so I just want to watch that. If you have extra butter left over, it's good on other things too. It's nice in a baked potato, garlic baked potato. I like to roast potatoes in it as well. So. I made some of this for Christmas, or actually Thanksgiving, and put it on a butter board. It was the winner, clear winner of all of them. Everybody loved the garlic one with the roasted garlic, so I feel like you can't go wrong with it. Just about done, just a couple of little pieces left. Check out his pasta dough. I did get the saran wrap out while you guys weren't watching. Throw a little bit of flour here on my counter. I'm going to knead this a little bit, so. All right. Actually came together really nicely. What you're going to do, you're going to take a bench scraper, or you can use a knife. It just depends on what you have. I have a bench scraper. We're going to cut that into 4 pieces. Just going to pull that together. And then we're going to just squish it out a little bit. So, not super thick, probably about 1/2 inch, so it can go through our pasta press. Just want to kind of just stretch it out a little bit and flatten it. So we're going to turn this on. We're just going to go to 1. And your blades and your rollers are going to be rolling. And you're just going to put the dough in. And if you don't get it thin enough, we're just going to have a hard time going through there. Okay. So you're going to take it through. You're going to bring it back. You're going to fold it in thirds. So one's over, and then you're going to put it in the opposite way from the fold. So right now you can see the fold. I folded it in 3s. And now we're going to put it into the roller like this. Take it through on 1 3 times. So we're on one setting. And you really want to use the back of your hand to catch it so you're not putting fingerprints into the dough. So that's 3 times. We're going to shut it off. We're going to move to 2. So move to 2 on your attachment. We're going to turn it back on. It's still going to go on 1 every time. We're going to do level 2 3 times. So you're just going to repeat this process all the way up to 6. And each time you switch levels, you do it 3 times. So there's 1. But sometimes it's hard not to do the your palm because it gets long. So, and if it gets too long where you can't manage it, go ahead and just use your cutter, and you're going to cut it in a more manageable style, or a more manageable size. That's 2. And then this is going to be 3. Okay, we're going to shut it off. We're going to go to setting 3. And then we're going to go 3 more times on 3. So all of this is customizable. Like if the dough is too long for you, cut it. Nothing is ever exact, so that's 2 times. And then this is going to be 3 on 3. Okay. We're going to stop it. We're going to go to 4. 3 times again. And remember, we're going to go all the way to 6. 1. 2. And 3. I'd like to see if I can hold it and stretch it longer, but I'm actually going to stop and cut it because it's getting a little bit unmanageable for me. So laying it back onto that dusted surface that you had. Turn that off for a second. And that was 3 times on 4. So we're going to go to 5. And I'm going to cut this like I said. Let's just cut it in half. And we're going to go 3 times on 5. This is going to be the 3rd time. And then we have one more setting. Like I said, we're going to go to 6. And we're going to do it 3 times on 6. So last pass through. One. 2. And you already see how long that's gotten just in the couple times since we've cut it. That's 2. And then 3. And then for time purposes today, I'm not going to roll it all. We're going to shut it off. And I'll lay it back down. And then I'm going to cut that probably in half again so we can put it through the cutter so it's not too long. We are going to get some semolina flour, which I already had some out. We're going to put this here on our board and just kind of dust it all over the board here. And I'm sorry for the view, you can't really see, but I'm going to take this attachment off. pull that one out. And then I'm going to use my fettuccine today. So we're going to do fettuccine noodles. So we're going to make sure that's all the way in. You're going to put your screw knob back on. Make sure that's tight. Alright, here's the fun part, guys. So you're going to take that dough that you already went all the way through 6. You're going to turn it on low. You're going to put it through. And then you're going to catch it with the back of your hand. And it's going to make these lovely fettuccine noodles. You guys see those? See how nice those are? And then we're going to throw them on our board and we're just going to dust them in the semolina. So dust them in your semolina flour here on your board. And then you're just going to make a little bird's nest or a little nest pile. We're going to do the other one. So same thing. And make sure you catch it with the back of your hand. Look at those guys. Look how nice those are. And you did have to cut them by hand. So if you own a KitchenAid, I'm telling you, these tools, they're so worth it. Okay guys, I'm going to show you a close-up of how to roll the pasta through the pasta roller. So you're going to start on setting 1. You're going to roll that through 3 times. You're going to turn off the mixer, turn it back on after you've changed it to setting 2. Oh, blooper, dropped it. And then you're going to go 3 times through setting 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 3 times through each setting. If the pasta gets too long, go ahead and cut that dough down so it's more manageable. Guys, look at these noodles. It's worth it. Like $99 for the roller and the 2 cutters. Like you can't beat that. So just dust it around there in that semolina flour, and we're gonna make just little bird's nests. And let me finish cutting the rest of the pasta. Remember, you should have your water boiling. My stove does power boost, which makes water boil instantly, like 2 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. I'm going to get that boiling and we're going to move to the sauce, okay? I'm not going to show you me cutting pasta over and over again. So I'm going to turn this off. Get my water started. Got my power boost going. Remember guys, we salted that water heavily, like heavily salted. So a good, I would say 3 nice, I wouldn't say handfuls, but 3 really heavy pinches. You want that water salty. You are going to reserve 1 cup of that water after we do boil the pasta to help with our sauce. Alright guys, we're going to just saute this shrimp real quick. A little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil in the pan. We're going to put it on medium heat. And you can use any shrimp, just make sure it's uncooked, so raw shrimp. I decided to get the U15s, so if you don't know what U means, that means how many per pound of the shrimp it takes to make a pound. So U15 means 15 shrimp in a pound, and they can get bigger and bigger. And the smaller they get, the bigger the number gets. So U30, U32, you know, however many. So we're gonna let this oil heat up. And I've already peeled the shrimp. Let me grab that bread out. So we had put the butter on the bread and melted it. So we're gonna get that out and then top it with cheese. So I'm gonna get that out and we're gonna do the cheese at the very last, like I said, because we want to make sure that that's hot and fresh when the pasta is ready. My water, remember, is boiling. Super salted water. So while we're doing that, we're also going to heat up olive oil in our pan for our sauce. So just a couple tablespoons. And like I said, I'm going to put all these recipes on the bottom in the comments so you can see. We're going to turn that on medium heat as well. And while we have a quick second while that's heating up, I want to talk to you about these pans. So these pans are hex clad pans. I have a convection oven or a convection cooktop, so you have to use special pans that work with that. These are endorsed by Gordon Ramsay. They use them on Next Level Chef. They're like a hybrid, so they're non-stick, not non-stick. It's called a hybrid, and you can see the honeycomb design. The great thing about this is, like I said, non-stick, but you don't want to cook things super high. So you definitely want to do medium high at the highest, because things can stick. But as long as you use enough oil, everything's great. So I'm going to heat that up. And also the great thing about my stove is if you lift the pan off, the burner goes off. So I've got my shrimp pan pretty much heated. I'm going to throw those in. So the shrimp are going to go in. And we're going to cook them a couple of minutes per side. And I'm just going to throw some salt and pepper on those. I'm not going to overly complicate those because the sauce has a lot of seasoning in it, and I don't want to add any more. So we're just going to throw some salt and pepper on there, guys. You can hear my water is boiling, so it won't be too long till that pasta is ready. I want to get the sauce mostly done. Fresh pasta, 1.5 to 2 minutes tops. You don't have to cook it very long, not like a dried pasta where you need to cook it, 12 to 15 minutes. Fresh pasta, we're going to drop it in, 1.5 to 2 minutes going to be done. So that's going to go really quickly. So make sure your sauce is about where you want it before you drop your pasta. Alright, so my olive oil is heated for my sauce. So I have a 1/2 cup of onion, any onion. I'm using yellow. I also added 1/2 cup of shallots. I love shallots. I love onion. You probably will never eat a meal in my kitchen without one or the other, or garlic. So 1/2 cup of each. We're going to go ahead and throw those in there. I'm going to cook those about 3 to 5 minutes until they've turned yellow, kind of caramelized a little bit. Let me grab another spoon, guys. I don't have enough. That going. I'm going to turn that shrimp up a little bit higher. Kind of overcrowded my pan a little bit, but I didn't have another large pan, so we're working with what we have. That's the great thing about cooking at home. It's trial and error. You can do whatever you want. Just try things, and if it doesn't work, then do something different the next time. So I got those onions and shallots browning. Once those are browned, we're going to add tomato paste. Just 1 can, 6 ounces. They come in that size, so 6 ounces of tomato paste. Let's set that right there. I'm going to turn on my vent on low. I'm sorry. Don't want to smoke out my guests while they're here. My guests are getting really hungry. They've been here for quite a long time, so we're getting this all wrapped up so we can sit down and eat. Enjoy a nice glass of wine. It's always great to have wine with pasta. I was reading an article today, actually, on my lunch break about eating at Italian restaurants and don'ts. First thing is, don't eat bread with your pasta. Don't dip up your sauce with your pasta. I do that, so sorry. Don't cut your noodles with a knife. I guess that's an American thing. We do that. You're supposed to use a spoon and twirl your pasta. I don't remember what the other thing is. Oh, don't use communal bread and olive oil for dipping your bread if you are eating bread with your soup or salad. That's weird because most Italian restaurants bring out communal olive oil, so I didn't quite get that one. But I learned some things to not do in Italian restaurants, but honestly, probably still gonna do them. All right, let's check on these shrimp. I'm gonna use my tongs here, actually. Easier to turn those over. They're gonna start getting a nice pink color, as you can see. And it's time to turn them over. And they'll shrink down a little bit, but those you know, 15 shrimp, they still stay nice and plump and juicy. So it is worth the extra money. I grabbed these at Costco today, and they are previously frozen. But it's hard. I live in the Midwest. I live in a food desert, so it's hard to get fresh, a lot of fresh food. So we definitely don't get fresh seafood. So we got to work with what we have. I also buy a lot of seafood at Aldi. I know you've heard me talk about Aldi. It is seriously one of my most favorite places. I buy so much stuff there, and I will tell you, they have probably some of the best scallops that I've ever had. They cook up really nice. They're juicy, plump, and I really don't buy scallops anywhere else, and we do eat a lot of scallops. So if you're in the area, you have a Aldi, definitely check it out. Okay, I got all those turned. I'm going to salt and pepper the other side. And I don't know about you, but I love these little containers. I have my little salt crock, just pinch. Just puts you more in touch with your food, I feel like. Just a little bit pepper. Alright, it's not going to take those very long. So remember, with a little bit bigger shrimp, probably 2 to 4 minutes per side. If you're going to use smaller ones, 1 to 2 minutes. Shrimp does not take that long. And you don't want to overcook, because once you overcook shrimp, it really gets mushy. So my shallots and onions are cooking up really nicely. Probably not another minute or two. I actually doubled the onion / scallops in this recipe, so it's taking a little longer than the 2 to 3 minutes. That's okay. I do love both of those, like I said, and it's going to be worth it in the finished product. My water is boiling, so it's ready to go whenever. And I said, like I said, 3 quarts. I probably put a little bit more in just because I knew it would be boiling for a little bit, and I wanted to make sure that I still had enough water. Just another minute on these shallots and onion. Maybe a couple pictures. I don't know. Maybe like the pasta. Shrimp. Look at this, guys. How beautiful is that? Like, super excited. First time I made pasta at home, so excited to try it out. Now remember, you definitely want to roll it around in that semolina flour so it doesn't stick. Nothing is worse than clumped stuck together pasta, and it definitely won't cook right. So make sure you're definitely getting that tossed in that semolina flour. The tomato paste now. So 6 ounces, we're going to put that in the pan. And you're going to cook that, stirring continuously or occasionally. Just watch it. It goes real quick. So you want to turn that into like a brick red, like a dark red color. shrimp are looking really nice. Can you see them? Probably just another 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes. They're looking really nice. So we got the tomato paste in there with your garlic and your onions and your shallots. So we're just gonna cook that until it gets a dark red. So I'm gonna scoop this a little bit. See the corner of my cup. While that's cooking, we're going to get the rest of our stuff. So it takes about 5 minutes for that to caramelize, get darker. I'm going to get my vodka. So you can use any type of vodka. I am using Grey Goose because that's what I have at the house today. I love Tito's. I usually have Tito's, but I've used it all in my Bloody Marys and I haven't restocked. So we are going to do Grey Goose. That tomato paste is starting to get a little dark. Let's give it a couple more minutes here. So when you add your vodka, you want to turn your heat down to low because it is a alcohol. Not on my stove because I have a convection. I don't have to worry about that. But on definitely gas stoves and regular stoves, you want to turn that down to low because when you pour the alcohol in, you don't want it to catch on fire because that is not something that we want to deal with, especially when you have guests over. And when you pour the alcohol in, you're going to have a rush of like steam. So you definitely want to stand back when that's happening. So this recipe calls for red chili paste. I want to talk to you about that for a second. So it's 1 tablespoon. I had a hard time finding it. I ended up finding it on Amazon, not here in time. So you can use just crushed red pepper flakes. Or you can make a paste, which I did myself. So I took crushed red pepper flakes, I put them in my coffee grinder. I have like a little spice coffee grinder. I ground it up and added just a little bit of olive oil to make that paste. So you can do that, or you can just use olive oil, red pepper flakes if you choose. I just wanted it to be smooth. I didn't want like the pieces of red pepper. So like I said, I just ground those up and put it with a little bit of olive oil. Just gonna turn a couple of these shrimp just one more time just because the amount I had in the pan was too much for that pan. I want to make sure that they get cooked all the way. Alright, my pepper, my tomato paste is good. Like I said, go ahead. I'm going to turn mine down just as a precaution. We're going to pour in that vodka. So 3/4 of a cup of vodka. Got that in. We're going to simmer that on low until most of that evaporates. So it just depends on your stove. And actually, while that's going, I'm going to add a little bit more water to my pasta water because I have boiled out quite a bit. And I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to turn the camera. I have this handy dandy faucet over my stove. How cool is that? You don't have to carry a pot of heavy water again. Sorry guys, too far. Alright, so I'm going to turn this back up now a little bit higher. Since I did add the alcohol, it's good to go now. So we're just going to simmer that, stirring occasionally until it's almost evaporated. So you want the flavor of the vodka, but you don't want the alcohol. So when you cook it, it's going to cook the alcohol out. The shrimp look to be done. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off because I don't want to overcook them, and they're going to cook a little bit in the sauce at the very end. So we definitely don't want to overcook those. Like I said, shrimp overcooked is probably one of the worst things. So once that is mostly evaporated, we're almost there. We're going to add that red pepper, the chili pepper paste that I was talking about, or your red pepper flakes, whatever you have. Like I said, this is pretty interchangeable for the most. The thing I'm going to say is do not substitute the vodka, obviously, and do not substitute the heavy cream. I know that heavy cream is a lot of calories, but this, for this recipe especially, you do not want to substitute that with anything else. So make sure you are using that heavy cream. Probably 1 more minute on this vodka to make sure that it's cooked out so we don't get the alcohol taste. So here's that chili paste that I made today. You can still see some of the flakes, but like I said, I didn't want just flakes, so that was a nice catch. Alright, so we're there. I'm going to add this in. And you can add as much or as little as you want. I don't like things super spicy. My husband likes things extra spicy, so we're going to just go middle of the road. We're not going to be too much, especially when you have guests and you don't know their taste preferences. You don't want to get something so spicy that they can't eat it, okay? So we're going to stir that chili paste in. And then we're going to use that heavy cream. So this is going to be 1 cup of heavy cream. Go ahead and pour that in. Stir that in. And your sauce is going to end up like an orangish, light orange color, and that's a classic vodka sauce. So mix that tomato paste really well with that cream and that paste. And it's going to be kind of thick. And I'm going to make a mess because I always do. And that's okay. It's not a good meal if there's not a mess at the end. So we probably have about 3 to 5 minutes left on the sauce. I'm going to get this mixed up. I'm going to throw the cheese on my bread and throw that back in the oven so that can get melted and ready. So when the pasta is done, we're ready. Nice orange, light orange color. Let's let that simmer for just a second. My water is come back to a boil after me adding some more, so we're going to drop our pasta. That bread, so got that cheese on it. Go ahead and throw it in there. I would say probably 3 minutes. Check it after 3 and make sure that it's not burning. I'm going to set my timer. I've got it for like 3 minutes and 26 seconds. So the sauce is really nice. a little spoonful so you can see the color. You can see that. Oh, just a little bit on my shrimp. A little nice orange color. I'm going to season that with salt and pepper. I'd already ground some pepper here, so we're just going to throw that in. About a teaspoon. And about a teaspoon of salt. Okay. Alright, my pasta water is going. We're going to just turn the sauce off just for a second. I don't want it over darkened, and I don't want it to be burnt. So we're going to turn it off while we cook that pasta. Like I said, pasta's only going to take 1.5 to 2 minutes. So, got my water boiling on high. You just want to kind of just separate it as you put it in because you don't want it to be all clumped together. And that's the great thing about fresh pasta. It literally takes minutes to cook instead of 10, 15 minutes. So I got that all in there. I'm going to bring that back up to a boil. This guy. Stirring around a little bit. Boiling, it's a rolling boil, so it shouldn't take not very long. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the drained pasta, you're going to put it right in the sauce. We're going to finish it up like that. My water just a little high, still had it on my power boost, so it was about to boil over. Quite there. Not going to take very long. Don't want to overcook it. Still want to keep it just a little bit al dente because we are going to finish it in the sauce, so we don't want it to be overcooked. Alright, so I'm going to heat up, turn my shrimp back on low just to make sure that those are warm through. Pasta is just about there. Is going off, so I'm going to check that as well. Turn this down just a smidge because we're about to boil over. I'm going to taste this and see where we are. Actually really good. Cheese is melting well, probably another 2 to 3 minutes. I wanted to start my timer and just do it in steps because I tend to lose track. So pasta is good and al dente. So let's go ahead and drain that. We're going to put it right into our pan of sauce. Let's go ahead and add that. Make sure you're draining that well and don't throw away your pasta water. If you need to drain it like strictly, make sure we save about a cup just in case we need to add it to the sauce. I got all that pasta out into my skillet with my sauce. I'm gonna just toss that around. I'm actually probably gonna use the tongs. Once we get that all mixed in, then we're going to add the butter at this point. that back on low to medium. I'm probably just gonna do medium low, just so we're not catching anything that we shouldn't. Add 3 tablespoons of butter. Guys, we missed the garlic in the sauce. I'm just going to throw it in here with the shrimp while it's heating up. I missed that step, sorry. Like I said, everything can be fixed. It's no big deal. I'm just going to let that butter melt. Shrimp up just a smidge, heat it through, and cook that garlic. See, everything is pretty much fixable. Got a little bit of shell, so you want to make sure you see that. Okay, my butter's starting to melt, and we're going to mix that in. Step is Parmesan cheese. So let's get that butter melted real quick. I'm going to add just a smidge of my pasta water just to get that to come together because it is a little thick. Just a little bit. My bread, probably about another minute. Your pasta sauce should look glossy, so glossy. Sauce looks good. Oh, if you can see it, look at that orange, that beautiful orange color. That is done. All right, so we are going to taste. So I'm going to get this fork to taste. And you want to check for seasoning. So you want to check for salt and pepper. It's a tad bit sweet, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Especially since that shrimp is going to be sweet on top of there. And your guests can add red pepper flakes as needed at the table if they want it a little more spicy. So there's that. Give that a quick stir. We're going to throw Parmesan cheese. Half a cup freshly grated. I already grated it before we started. Go ahead and sprinkle that over. Bread out because it's looking pretty nice. Stir this cheese around in there. We're going to toss that shrimp in there. They like shrimp because there's a lot of shrimp here. Throw in a little bit of that garlic. All that garlic in there. it up and we're ready to eat. Your guests are gonna love this. Nice, spicy vodka sauce, homemade fettuccine. I think this dish is a keeper, guys. Alright, enjoy your night, enjoy your dinner. Don't forget to pour a little wine with dinner, and enjoy.